With this session update, I'm Shannon Lurkey. The Senate considered a bill that would conform Minnesota tax code to federal law with regard to the Paycheck Protection Program, thereby ensuring that Minnesota businesses who received federal forgivable loans do not owe state taxes on those funds. The bill also exempts federal unemployment payments from state taxation. Here are some highlights from the Senate debate.
Members, the federal government made it very clear when they passed this legislation that these forgivable loans were not going to be taxed. So where we find ourselves is businesses, they got businesses to run. They don't spend a lot of time probably getting down into the details of what's in Minnesota's tax chapters. But because there was so much press around this issue about these loans not being taxed, I think there was a pretty broad assumption on the part of almost everybody that as long as they did their part, kept their employees employed during this pandemic, that the loans ultimately would be forgiven. Well, as it turns out, the current law in Minnesota, these loans are taxed. So businesses took the loans, I think, assuming they weren't going to be taxed. They made business decisions about trying to keep people employed, trying to get their business back on their feet and back to some degree of cash flow again, based on the assumption that they weren't going to have to hold back a portion of these loans to pay Minnesota taxes on it. There are a couple other provisions in the bill that are important. Senator Rest offered an amendment in the tax committee when we marked up the bill to exempt some of the unemployment, a portion of the unemployment that individuals who were laid off during the pandemic experienced. And many of you probably remember the federal government passed a $600 stipend on top of your regular unemployment that is also all taxable under Minnesota law. And normally when the department pays out unemployment benefits, they do deduct state and federal taxes from your unemployment taxes so that individuals don't find themselves in a spot when the filing season comes having a big tax bill and they may still be unemployed. Because of the urgency of getting this money out to the individuals on unemployment, the federal government did not tax these unemployment benefits, even though at the time they received them, taxes were going to be due. And the state of Minnesota did not tax that $600 stipend unemployment benefit either. So Senator Rest brought a provision to the committee to exempt a portion of that $600 payment from Minnesota's taxes. So that is also in the bill. The third provision in the bill is a provision related to going back to the federal tax law that passed, I believe, in 2017, I believe, where one of the provisions was a cap on state and local taxes when you file your federal income tax return, a cap of $10,000. That created a significant challenge in states like Minnesota that have a relatively high income tax burden on our taxpayers because there was a cap on it. So many filers that used to itemize in Minnesota found themselves in a position having to take the standard deduction, which was raised, some under that federal tax law, to try and offset some of the impact of the cap on state and local deductions. Senator Rest actually introduced this bill a couple of years ago to try and fix this in Minnesota so that to give those businesses that are S corporations an opportunity to elect, if they choose, to file as a C corporation, which would allow all their deductions to be able to be claimed as a business expense. The offsetting part of it is the corporate tax rate is 9.85%, so maybe the tax rate might actually be a little bit higher than what they might have paid as an individual.
I think it's really important for us to acknowledge that what this bill does largely in forgiving this PPP money is give, in essence, what could be a sort of double tax break to businesses that received this money. So what that means is that those businesses will have received the PP money from the federal government. They would be able to write off those costs if they use the money in the way that the money was intended. And then now we will also not be taxing them on that income as well. Now that may be a very good idea economically. It might be that we're in a situation where we need economic stimulus. And I wouldn't necessarily assert that that is a bad idea, Mr. President, but what I would assert is that if we are going to do this, and I believe the estimate is that the cost of doing this is upwards of $430 million, 437.8 million is the number that I had. If we're going to do this, economic stimulus for businesses, then what we also need to do is to provide fairness for workers. We need to stand up for average Minnesotans, for the workers in Minnesota.
I grew up in a community very different than the one I represent. I grew up in a community where the median income was around $17,000. Now I represent a district where the median income is over $60,000. It's a big difference. I grew up knowing where governments did not invest in the infrastructure that is so desperately needed. And when tragedy and crisis happen, it just exacerbates the gaps that were already there. And I'm certainly wanting to be part of a solution for our state, taking some votes that are hard because I know that it's desperately needed in our state to get out of this stronger for all of us, not just our businesses, but every single Minnesotan. And members, that is why I plan to support this bill. But I hope we continue the discussion about what is really necessary and needed for the state of Minnesota, not to be the outlier. Actually, we can be the outlier. We can be an example of how we get out of this pandemic.
This is so important for our small businesses. As the chair of the Jobs Committee, we hear the struggles that our small businesses are facing every single day. And last spring, these PPP loans were a lifeline, not only to the businesses members, but to the very people that they employ. Our unemployment trust fund is over $1 billion in deficit today. This greater than what we saw during the Great Recession. And these PPP loans kept people employed, kept people off the unemployment rolls, and helped us make it through the spring. And it is unfair for us to now tax those benefits when employers were trying to do the right thing for the very people that they employ.
I'm a yes on this bill, and I'm going to tell you why. First of all, the unique nature of our PPP loans. What we said to our small businesses is, if you will hustle, if you will scrape, if you will keep your employees employed, we will forgive these loans. That was incentive for a once every 100-year pandemic, and I think this bill properly treats the tax conformity issue the way our small business owners would like us to do that. The bill also provides some relief for working men and women. I like the treatment of the unemployment taxes in this bill, Mr. President, and I think we're going to have to do a whole heck of a lot more for the working men and women of Minnesota, and I'm very appreciative of what I thought were some pledges from some members of the majority party to be serious when we consider those support mechanisms for working men and women. At the end of the day, we are all in this together. We want to get back opened up. We want to have bars and restaurants get relief. We want to have greater ability to enjoy the freedoms that Minnesota offers. That includes things like event centers, professional baseball events, and just getting together with each other.
I just want to say I am incredibly thankful today. As the newest tax chair on the roster, I am very glad to see that we have bipartisan support, I believe, on this bill. And bipartisan support, I should say tripartisan support, on this bill from not only the current tax chair, but previous tax chairs as well. And let me just add two statements to why this is important. I know it's been said, but members, these were lifelines. The payroll protection plan was a lifeline, not just to the businesses, but to the employees. Members, it kept the paychecks flowing even when there weren't customers. And so it supported Minnesota workers. And now far too many of those businesses would be taxed on their lifeline, and it's unconscionable that we would do that. It put many of them right over the brink. And the same with Minnesotans on these pandemic unemployment benefits. We should not be taxing those. I'm glad that this bill is making some subtractions for that taxation. We're not going to tax all that.
Next Monday, because most people file electronically, accountants for those businesses are going to push the button, and we are going to take $375 million out of our economy. The businesses would continue to invest as we start to grow our way out of this pandemic. We're going to ask them to send $375 million on Monday to the Department of Revenue. And guess what, members? That's where it's going to sit. It's going to sit over there in the state checkbook because it's not going to get spent until we appropriate the money. That's in the Constitution. Members, why would we do that? Why would we take $375 million out of our business economy on Monday only to have it go sit over at the Department of Revenue's building until we get around to appropriating it? Members, that is going to slow down this economic recovery. It is going to mean more people are going to stay on unemployment as we take the money out of businesses' pockets and send it over to the department. I just don't see how that makes any sense.
There being 55 ayes and 12 nays, the bill is passed and its title agreed to.
To continue following these issues and more, watch legislative coverage Monday through Friday on the PBS Minnesota channel or visit our website www.senate.mn/media.